Hi everyone, thank you for joining me. I have an adorable shaker slider combo to share with you today. This card has been designed for a new mama to be and features a sweet stamp set by Simon Says Stamp called Happiest Wishes. This was a super fun card to make, so let's get started. This large card was designed to fit in an envelope 5.5 by 8 inches. I'm starting off with a piece of oversized Bristol smooth cardstock, which I will later trim down. This is a big background. I'm using Simon's Build a Rainbow stencil, and the blender brush in combination with Distress Oxide inks makes this come together very quickly. The stenciling did not start at the bottom of the card. I did go back, however, and add in a couple of layers of clouds at the end because I decided I was going to approach it a little bit differently than I initially thought. I'm guessing that you've already figured out that this new mama to be's having a baby boy, and so my background is a gradient of blues. Starting at the bottom of the card, the stenciling begins with Chipped Sapphire and then on to Uncharted Mariner. I then have Salty Ocean, Broken China, Peacock Feathers, Tumbled Glass, and finally Speckled Egg. The surprise sentiment is going to be done with a really sweet die set. It comes with both the shadow die and then the script die. The shadow die cuts are going to be used to cut the sentiments from. The die that cuts the script lines up perfectly with the shadow die cut. Using an older die set by Lawn Fawn called Slide On Over, and it is still available. It comes with a number of different channel cuts. I'm using the straight one and cutting it 4 times. I've trimmed down the stenciled panel and also cut another piece of white cardstock to measure 5 inches by 7.5. To keep the 2 panels aligned to one another, I'm just using a couple of paper clips. As I die cut the channels, I made sure to keep them in the correct order, so now I can go ahead and inset them through the die cut opening onto that back panel. After each of these die cuts are adhered, I lift up the stenciled panel just to make sure that the die cut is not catching it. Next, I'm going to attach the acetate to the back of the sentiment to create the shaker. It had to be cut large enough so that it would catch the top of the letter H, but I don't want any of the acetate covering those channels, so I trim that down. The acetate will be attached over just the sentiment opening using Sue Kwang's double-sided tape. The tape that I'm using is very narrow. It is only 1/8 of an inch wide, and it is perfect for this application. After I've removed the backing paper, the acetate is lined up over top of the window and it is adhered with this very strong adhesive. I'm going to be using a product that I have not used before. It's these awesome little gliders that fit perfectly in the channels. The glider has slots on either side that the paper slips into. They are securely attached but move freely up and down the channel. These gliders come in a package of 10 and are very reasonably priced. If you would like more information on these or any other products that I've used to make today's card, you'll find links in the description of this YouTube video or over on my blog at bonniecarolee.com. All of my elements are going to be adhered to a cloud that is the full width of the panel. To keep it stable, I did put in the 4 channels. However, the gliders are not going to move independent from one another. A very sticky glue dot on each glider is going to adhere a strip of cardstock right across all 4 gliders. Once the cloud is adhered to the other side, this will ensure that it moves straight up and down the panel. And now for the foam. I'm going to use Derice foam strips and place it all the way around that sentiment. I'm having to cut some small pieces to go around the top of the letter H, but I am making sure that as I place them down, that they are butting right up against one another so none of the shaker material will become lost. After I've gone all the way around my shaker window, I'm going to remove the backing and put on a second layer of foam strips. This will bring it to the same height as the foam that I will be using on the rest of the card. I had to do a little bit of extra trimming to make sure that the glider was not impeded by the foam around the top of that letter H. I finished up by placing foam on the top, bottom, and sides of the panel. When placing the foam on the sides of the panel, I make sure that that sliding mechanism is not going to be interfered with. To easily align the panel to the back of the card, I'm going to use my MISTI. I first remove the foam inserts so that my panel is going to sit lower than the sides of the MISTI. All of the backing paper is removed except for the foam that is around the shaker. These are left in place so as the shaker material is going in, my fingers don't get stuck to the foam. Any kind of disruption can cause the shaker material to come out and get stuck all over the foam, and I don't want to be dealing with that. The rest of the backing paper is removed carefully. Placing the back of the panel, I tip the top of it forward, get it butted right into the corner of the MISTI, and then lower the rest of it down. And sorry my head got in the way, but you really do have to kind of get in there to get it aligned. Scripty sentiment, Hey Mama, is going to sit right on those acetate windows, so I'm going to use Tombow glue. I first dot them with the glue and then set it aside to dry. When Tombow dries, it is tacky and repositionable, perfect for an acetate window and no gluey residue. 2 panels of clouds have been die cut using Spellbinder's Color Block Cloudscape. They are the same width as the card. One has been inked up with chipped sapphire and the other one with uncharted mariner. One of the cloud panels will overlap the other one. I just need to make sure that when I put them together and pop them onto the gliders that they're going to fully cover that sentiment. The Tombow glue is dry and tacky, and so the sentiments can be popped into place onto the acetate windows. Each of the critters from Happiest Wishes is going to have a little sentiment stamped onto the balloon. I didn't bother showing the coloring for each of these 3 images, but if you are interested in the Copic colors that I've used, they'll be listed on my blog. To adhere the clouds to the gliders, I put a pretty good dollop of glue on each one, set the cloud panel in place, and then it is left to completely dry. I'm using Lawn Fawn's Push Here for the little sentiment and the arrow die cut. The arrow was die cut 4 times and stacked so it is easy to hold on to slide the glider up. I have one more sentiment that I want to stamp on this card front, but before I do that, I want to position all of the little animals and their balloons. The glider is pushed up to the top so I can make sure that the sentiment is not going to be covered by any of the balloons. The card front is mounted on a card base that measures 5 1/4 by 7 3/4 inches and has been matted with soft navy cardstock. Fun detail on the envelope, I'm going to use the script die from Hey Mama and die cut the flap. A strip of lightweight red cardstock will be adhered to the underside. I finish up by adding in the die cut pieces for the letter E and the 2 A's. This card is finished up with some beautiful sequins from a mix by Studio Kasha called Sparkling Sea. For the most part, the confetti is concentrated on the cloud glider. To highlight the sentiment at the top of the card, I put the glider in its top position and then add in 3 more confetti. And that completes this fun shaker slider combo featuring an adorable stamp set by Simon Says Stamp, Happiest Wishes. I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, I appreciate your visit.